My name is Malachi Lito. Producer name is Kana Beats. I am originally from Boise, Idaho, but just recently, within the last few months, moved to California. So now I'm like about an hour from LA. I have been producing music since, well, attempting to produce music since senior year of college. So I think now that's about 6 years. I really only started taking it seriously about 2, maybe 3, I think, years ago. Before that, it wasn't super serious. I didn't know what all it would take and how much it took to get into it. So far, I've worked / collaborated with a few local artists from Boise. I know that there is stuff coming down the pipe, but it isn't out yet, and I don't want to talk about it unless it's actually out, because I mean, literally anything could happen. You never know, especially in music. But mainly, the people that I work with are just people that I really get along with. I really like their energy. They seem to take it as seriously, if not more seriously than me. You can tell, you know, especially when I used to do a lot more like in-person stuff, obviously, before the pandemic. You could tell pretty immediately if you had like a vibe with people and if it was gonna work, and I just kind of kept narrowing down from there. And I have a set amount of artists that I just send stuff to. Definitely worked with people in the TRAKTRAIN community too, like Tommy Hydra, of course. I'd say the most unusual things are just maybe people not understanding stuff that you think is like kind of common sense. It's not for some people, which is fine. Unusual one that I had was I went to work with another producer, brought a friend along. I kind of just like to have somebody there that I also know, especially when I'm meeting someone for the first time. He was nice, like the person that we went to place, you know, he was really chill and just like, but it was one of those ones where you go in and you kind of are like, okay, there's not a ton that's probably going to get done like music wise at this session. That's fine in the mindset of, okay, I'm going here to make music, and then you get there and it's like, oh, probably not gonna make that much music. Then that can feel unusual and you can feel a little thrown. I don't think we even finished a beat that night, whereas there are other times, you know, where someone will come over and we finished 3 or whatever or more. Sometimes if people are pulling you out of your comfort zone, that can actually be, in my opinion, a good thing. Vice versa, if you're pulling someone out of their comfort zone, which is why I kind of think collaborations are pretty important. I also think that if you're talking 2 creators, you know, one could be the producer, one could be the artist. I really think as a producer, you can't be afraid to speak up to an artist and say, hey, I think that this part could be better, or maybe you should change this. Like, voice your opinion, because you also know music. As long as you're voicing your opinion and you're trying to help with the creation of the song or the sound or whatever it may be, I think in the end, you're both trying to make the same thing, which is just good art. And that's a pretty easy way to synchronize the visions. I got in when Instagram was easier to grow on there at the time when I first started a few years ago. As long as you were posting somewhat interesting stuff, posting beats, videos especially, and as long as you had the right hashtags, you could get good engagement and you would get people following you and stuff. I have noticed that it slowed down a lot on Instagram in the past couple of years, past year probably, especially as they've transitioned more to like a promotion based, I guess, kind of pay to win, essentially, almost in social media form, where if you want to get in front of the most people, you need to pay for promotion, you know, whether that's a story having to be promoted or a post or whatever. It seems like Reels, as of right now, are a pretty good way to still kind of get back to that raw, a natural engagement, but who knows how long that'll last. That could also transition over to promo as well. And as far as just, I would say the majority of my audience has kind of just come from people that I've met through all the social medias and the ones that you get along with. They like your sense of humor or whatever, or they just like your art. Twitch was a big one. Probably YouTube, because I'm on YouTube a lot too. Just start. Don't be afraid. I know that, I mean, this is still something that I do, overthink everything, and I think that's a common thing. I mean, there's a reason that that's kind of Kana Beats' whole like motto to his, you know, producer group, and because it really does weigh you down. It becomes an excuse, especially for me. I've noticed it becomes an excuse to just not ever post anything, because you just start overthinking it, and it's just easier to just go, forget it, and just push it off, you know, and just forget about it. Even if you think that your beats aren't good enough, post them, because you'll never know unless you do. And then if they're not good enough, keep getting better at them. Just get your stuff out there. Like I mentioned, Kenny is pretty inspiring. Wonder Girl, any up and coming producers too, it's usually cool to hear their story and how they did it. And then obviously, you know, the big names, the Count, he's super cool, and he really is into just like making beats out of like sounds, like real sounds that he has. Probably the thing that inspires me most is I don't typically go and like listen to music when I'm trying to go and make stuff, which I know sounds kind of cliche, and like I do think it helps a little bit to not like be listening to another sound maybe as much. Don't get me wrong, I listen to music all the time, but like when I'm just about to go and create, I try to not play stuff before I'm opening up my DAW, because I don't want to be too influenced by that. The things that really inspire me are like movies, soundtracks, pretty important I think, and then TV shows, like anime especially. The music is just really different from anything that we have here, so that's also pretty inspiring. And then video games. With a video game, like music is so important to what's going on in the background that like sometimes you're not even noticing it, and noticing how much it's adding to the overall atmosphere and experience. So that's kind of something that's really cool to focus on, and then think about how you can try to apply that to your own music too. I don't think there's anything wrong with either, because they both can work, just kind of depending on what you want to do. An example is like there are plenty of producers out there who I guess you would label them as following trends by doing like type beats, or maybe like they like a particular sound that's hot right now and they're making stuff like that. And I think that's really important, trying to get mass appeal, sell beats. Like, you know, you got to be on top of the trends if you're trying to sell beats, because that's the whole point of having a business. Like, businesses do it, we're a business, we need to do it as well. Creating your own style though, that's also important to be kind of crafting or trying to, you know, as you're going along, because then potentially that's how people will know you, and they'll know your sound and be like, oh, that's, you know, this producer, I can tell, because, you know, that's their own style. And then they can kind of work in tandem together. Even I wouldn't put too much pressure on creating your own style. I've had a lot of people claim that they have their own style and they don't. Or it doesn't sound like they do to me. Maybe they, you know, it sounds like it to them, but that's why I don't think you should force it. Like, you'll know, and people will tell you when you have your own sound, but telling people that you have your own sound, and that you don't sound like other people, and, you know, being a pick-me producer, not a huge fan of that. A little corny to me, but so I think they're both important. If you're a growing producer, you're going to be learning, because you don't know everything. I mean, you never know anything, you know, you never know everything. You should always keep learning, especially in the beginning. Like, there's so much that you have to learn. That's kind of what I did when I started taking this really seriously, was I just immersed myself into, you know, the whole entire community. And I really got into, like, especially the Twitch scene, just watching these really big producers who are willing to show you, you know, exactly how they're making everything. Like Kenny, Francis Got Heat, all of like the Internet Money producers, a ton of people that are on Twitch now, and they're willing to show their whole process. So get into that community. That's super important, I think, because you'll learn so much just from watching that, like more than probably a tutorial. I think that that's super, super important, especially when I was starting out, and I was not extremely confident in a certain aspect of like my producing. If I could have someone else do that and then I could do like another part during the collaboration, that really builds your confidence because you're still making something in the end. Plus, I mean, it's the same reason that companies do big cross promotion. You're just doubling the number of eyes that are going to see it potentially just from working with someone else. It could just be someone that you really like. I got, as I'm sure everybody did, it got worse. Social anxiety. I'd never liked flying, but especially now I really dislike flying. Just stuff that I'm working on, trying to work through. Probably take a while until I feel completely back to normal, and maybe I never go completely back to normal in terms of comfort with that stuff. But yeah, crowds, I still get nervous when I know I have to go to somewhere crowded. I keep my mask on a lot, just as even a soothing thing almost, even if I know that people there are all vaccinated. In terms of music, I really stopped not doing music, but doing in-person anything. I stopped having people over, going to places like shows, and honestly I think it's helped because that was what turned me to start doing Twitch. That's what got me working with this producer that I am good friends with now in Boise, Kana Beats, and we're actually working on a beat tape. I want to do a lot more streaming now, my own music up there. Even as great as it is to have placements and all that stuff, I think that I really want my own leverage, because even just me these past however many years, 3 years, taking it really seriously and trying to get placements and stuff, and seeing how long and how slow the music industry actually moves. The whole reason I got into music and the whole reason I like the idea of this is because I really enjoy being your own boss, and I like the idea of me being accountable for how much I get done, how much work I put in. I really enjoy that feeling. Taking it even a step further, I still want to work with artists, I still want to try for placements and all that stuff, but I'm really excited about leveraging myself even more and making it okay, I'm the one who's really making myself money. I'm my own boss, even to the fullest of if I get these beat tapes done and I promote them right, I start getting streams, and the streams are going to me and in this case of course Nate, because we're splitting this beat tape. That's also really exciting. Not something that I don't think I would have even thought about that unless the pandemic had hit and been okay, you don't need to be going to these things. You don't have to feel like you're missing out because you're not going to concerts or producers meeting up. You can still create your own opportunities, and that's what I'm most excited about. And I think that was kind of a positive to come out of, if you look at any silver lining from the pandemic, it would have to be that for me. It's great so far. Obviously it doesn't have all of the trappings and stuff of maybe some of the other platforms right now, but I think the exciting piece of it is that it almost feels like getting in with a company on the ground floor, kind of when it's just starting and it's just starting to bubble up. And I've already suggested stuff. TRAKTRAIN has listened, and they've even changed some things because of what I've suggested. I think that's super cool, super helpful, and I'm going to continue to keep pushing. I'm going to continue to keep advocating for things that I think are important on the site, in the Discord too. We still need to do live beat battle. I'm gonna keep pushing for that. It's been nice to feel like you're being heard, so I do appreciate that, and being able to go right to the source, it feels like. The big dream is I would love to work with Wonder Girl and Kana Beats. They're two producers that I really look up to and admire. I think it would be kind of cool to work with someone who's kind of almost in the soundtrack world or the video game music world. That would be really fun too. I really like Oliver Tree and what he's doing right now and what he's done in the past. I think he really just goes for it in terms of genre and sound and stuff, and it's really cool how he doesn't really seem to limit himself. His music is a little more carefree, a little more tongue-in-cheek, and I just think that's really fun. So that would be really cool to just make whatever with him. It would be really cool to work with Snot or something. Every beat that he picks It just feels like really intentional. Feels like he really pays attention when he's searching for beats and trying to like fit stuff together with. He pays a lot of attention to that, and it would be pretty cool if he picked a beat that I had made. So that's it. I've been Kana Beats. Thank you, TRAKTRAIN, for asking me to do this. Come say what up to me. I'm in the Discord. I'm one of the moderators. Just hit me up at Beats by Kana on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Kana Beats on YouTube, TRAKTRAIN.com/Kana Beats. Thanks. Peace.